Good afternoon. It's been about 6 years since I did my tour of the Joshua's Trust properties and made a movie for each. And obviously since then they've added a couple of new ones. So I thought I would come out and do a little update video on a couple of the new ones. And so we'll have to go back to earlier this year first. Good afternoon and welcome to the Madeline Reagan Preserve in Tolland. And today I'm hiking one of the new ones, this Madeline Reagan Preserve, which does not head off in that direction, but instead turns right and onto a stretch of the old Connecticut path. You can actually see a mishmash of bridge technologies here. Old rotting wooden planks, corduroy road, the Old Connecticut Path, for those who aren't familiar, is a Native American trail that was used and expanded by colonists.
I think Thomas Hooker and the original settlers of Windsor.
And it has long since fallen into disuse, but there's a great site that charts the course of it all the way from the Connecticut River up into Massachusetts. And I'll put a link to my page, which has a bunch of links and some more information. The trail continues uphill for about a half mile before flowing directly into the Blue Ridge Loop. This is the trail that was cut about last fall, so it's still a little rough, but easy enough to follow and definitely well blazed. It does skirt a fair amount of private property, which obviously isn't ideal, but still doesn't quite ruin the character of the trail. For a loop option, I'll take it. After about a quarter mile, you come down off the ridge trail to cross the Connecticut Path and right onto the Esker Trail. This trail also skirts private property, but thankfully there's a thick enough screen of pines here that it's not too much of an issue. Here we are on top of the Esker. This is easily the coolest feature on the trail. We got vernal pools on either side and a narrow trail atop the ridge. Pretty picturesque, if you ask me. This red Esker trail finishes among a bunch of young pine. And after some careful footwork here, we rejoin the Connecticut Path at this old bridge. And so I think the trails here are just over a mile, and so it's a nice little hike and a nice little acquisition by Joshua's Trust. I'll see you next. Actually, before we sign off, we gotta do Schmid Overlook. Coming in just a quick 1/10 of a mile or so, the trail splits between this way and this way. I want to see the river first, so I'm gonna take the left fork here. Schmid Overlook is just over 19 acres and has about a half-mile loop. Lollipop loop is what we call it, trail, and has some nice views of the river. If we head up to this little knoll here, you get this view of the curve along the Willimantic River here.
all the way to the other side.
This whole area was I think, gravel pit for the Kutu family. So that's why there's all this sand. Getting some nice views of the Willimantic River here right along the trail. I'm sure this whole area gets swept clean in the spring when the water gets high. Rustic little bridge here. From here we reach the back side of the property. Some no trespassing signs off in the distance there. We start looping back. A little bit rougher on this side of the trail, but still well blazed and easy to pass. Joshua's Trust highlights the story of the Dunnick family, who previously owned the property, and they had some of the area clear enough to have a baseball field. And the sons of the family had a team. They named it after what they called the property, which was the Ridges, and had some success as a baseball team. So, cool little family story about the area, although the baseball field has long since disappeared. Pretty simple loop. Definitely cleaned up and nicer than the first time I visited right after it opened. So I think that sums up the two of Joshua's Trust's newest properties. I'll see you next time.